guys, welcome to The Shift, a space where we'll be sharing real stories, real faith, and real transformations. Today, I'll be sharing with you a story of a girl from a small town called Odaya whose tragedies changed her life for good. My name is Grace, I'll be your host, and this is my story. The first major shift in my life was shifting from engineering to pursue beauty as a career, and it never occurred to me how big that would be. At first, I thought, I'm just gonna do this for fun, but then somewhere along the way, an opportunity presented itself, and I took the risk and I transitioned, and I couldn't be happier because that transition has opened so many doors for me. It has taken me so many places. I've met so many amazing people through this job that I can never thank God enough for that transition. And the best side of it is that I get to wake up to something I love doing and something I'm passionate about, and the fact that it also gives me a purpose in life. I know it's not something everyone figures out when they're still young, so I'm so grateful for that. In the process, after transitioning, I started working in Nyeri at Odaka Sport, and that was also the beginning of my second major shift. Somewhere in 2020, as the year was coming to an end, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, esophagus cancer, and that was the beginning of my first tragedy. So every time I tell this story, I end up crying. So I'm really hoping, okay, I get to finish this without crying. But if I cry, what the worst that can happen. So yeah, so like I said, toward the end of 2020, my dad was diagnosed with esophagus cancer, and we started treatment and everything. At this point, I think it was also a COVID year, so much was going on in our family. On top of my dad being sick, my sister who specializes in hospitality, at the moment they were also laid off. So we had so much going on as a family at that time. Unfortunately, my dad didn't make it. Whew. Sorry guys. So yeah, my dad did not make it, and that was where everything in my life really took a turn in a really big way. So I stayed home for some time because I needed to make sure that my mom was okay. But then after that, I came back to Nyeri and tried going back to work and distract myself, but that wasn't working either. In the process, I also realized that I was in a relationship that was also not in alignment for me, so I also walked away from that. And a few months later, when I moved in to my new apartment, depression slowly started kicking in, and at first I didn't realize it. I was at work, and one day, just like that, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move, and I started having very severe sharp pains around my chest. And so a normal me, every time, I'm so self-aware about my body, so every time I have something that's going on that is off, I rush next to our workplace. We have a chemist that is full of doctors, so I have a favorite. His name is Papa, and so I just run and tell him I'm feeling this and this and this, something is off with my body. And so that day I did the same, and so I went to him and explained what I was experiencing. He requested me to get some MRI and CT scan done, and I tried that. and the results came back negative. There was nothing wrong with me. I don't know how he figured it out, but somehow he was able to detect that probably I have depression. But they didn't come clean to me at first. He just told me to try some meds and see how I'll be feeling the next day. And so I took the meds, and it hit me the next day. For the first time since my dad passed away, I was able to sleep through the entire night. Normally, I would wake up and just cry in the shower and sit and soak myself in water. This time, I slept like a baby. And so the next morning, I went to him and asked, "What did you give me that made me sleep through?" And he couldn't explain it to me. So what he did is he referred me to another doctor, and he was able to guide me and tell me, "You're suffering from depression, and these are some of the side effects." And he would ask me questions like, "Do you live with anyone? Can we get somebody to stay with you in the meantime? I know like you've been through a lot." And at that moment, I felt like I really don't want to cohabitate with anyone. So I asked him what the other alternative was, and he said, "We can try and talk like once in a day, and you also have to finish your medication." And I was like, that works for me because living with someone ain't an option. The medication worked, and within no time, I was back to my normal, usual self, and I continued working. And just when I thought the storm was over, my mom got a back injury. And at this point, if any one thing about cancer is gonna drain you guys, emotionally, physically, financially, it's going to drain you guys. So when my mom called me telling me she's having really severe back pains, the first thing that came to my mind was, God, I cannot lose another parent at this point. What's the point of everything I'm doing if I have nobody to share with? And if the only reason I've been doing this is for my family, what's the point if I get to lose the entire family? And so anyway, I got a doctor who could help out. So we started treating my mom. At this point, financially, I was depreciating. Like, I did not have money at all. I just came from burying my dad, so also I haven't been constantly working. I had already used up all my emergency savings, and so financially I was not okay, but God made a way and I made it through. So at this point, my sister got a job, and everything started working out for my mom. And so after that, I thought, finally, now my mom is okay, life can move on. Then boom, my sister needs a surgery. And I was like, at this point, I could realize everything that is happening is not normal. I don't know if it makes sense. Sometimes you get attacked so much that it's no longer a point of what you've done wrong. You can see now this is spiritual warfare. And luckily for my sister, we didn't need to facilitate any finances. The NHIF card at the moment was covering that. And after that, she got well. And that was in 2021. And we thought, finally, now I can breathe. Now I'm okay. But no. The next year, come 2022, after my birthday, I got into a road accident. And it was so bad that my jaws were broken. Some part of my skin was torn, but the toughest part was my jaws, because I couldn't eat for months. And yeah, I mean for months. Literally, I could only survive on fluids and fluids alone. This was the one tragedy that really took a toll, not only for me, not only physically, but emotionally, spiritually, financially. It took everything from me. Anyway, they say the season of proving is going to test you, is going to prune you, it is going to transform your life. And it is all they also say it's also the season where God is most silent in your life. And after my road accident, that was my season of testing. They also say that that season is also going to test your integrity. It's going to be like a competition between your faith and your integrity. Your faith is going to be tested, that you're going to question if you really trust God in that season. So I decided that I didn't want to stay in a hospital. I really even didn't have much of a choice. So I called my sister. No, at first I called my best friend, and then I think I called our CEO at that time, and then I called my sister. So when my sister came and they took me home, at first they didn't call my mom. So by the time my mom was informed that I got into a road accident, I think she was in the salon somewhere in town. She came home and found me sleeping, lying down on her bed. She looked at me and she couldn't say even a word. She just asked, "How do you feel?" At the time I couldn't even speak. And so she went back to the sitting area. One of my auntie was also staying with us at that time. And I remember overhearing my mom tell my aunt, "If I don't make it, there's no way you can convince her that God exists." And in that moment, we've been through a lot as a family, but I've never heard my mom question her faith until that moment. Not only was she devastated, but she had completely given up on God. Because how can she lose her husband, get sick, her other daughter gets sick, and now she's about to lose another daughter? Her faith has always been the backbone of that family, but in that moment, she didn't believe in God. Anyway, so when I heard her say that, my biggest regret in that bed was not the fact, "Oh, I've never been married, I don't have kids." No. My biggest regret was I had so much that I wanted to do, vision that I had in my mind, but I kept procrastinating just because, "Oh, I don't have enough capital, it's not the right time yet, I'm waiting." In that moment, you realize that life is truly short and you wish you could have executed everything that you wanted to execute, but you didn't for some reason. And that was my biggest regret, that I was dying not having raised enough men of relevance in my life like I had aspired to do in my life. I was dying not having traveled to any other country. Can you believe that? Any other country beside this country, beside my homeland. And that was just sad, because one of my biggest hobbies, I aspire to travel everywhere. And to have died not having fulfilled that was really breaking my heart. and to have died not doing everything that I wanted to do just because I kept on wasting time living a life of mediocrity really broke my heart. And so they say that hospitals have had the most sincere prayers. In that moment, it was just me and God. But my body physically was also in so much pain that I knew I might not see the next morning. And so I just made a whisper and said, God, if I make it to the other side, I'm not gonna waste my life. But if I don't, I started saying thank you. Thank you for the 25 years. I was 25 years then in this life. Thank you for the family you chose for me. Thank you for the things and the friends that I got to experience in this lifetime. I know I didn't fulfill it, but I'm still grateful because I also had a friend growing up who also didn't make it this far. So I'm grateful. And I made my peace with it. And in that point, I also started texting my bankers, my finance managers, and I was like, I need this and this to go to this person. And I also remember texting one of my best friends and telling her, if I don't make it to the next day, I need you to make sure my mom is taken care of. But I also knew if I don't make it, I also knew that if I don't make it, my mom would not make it either. And I tried to imagine a world where my sister grew up having a family, a dad, a mom, and now to be left alone in such a world, that also broke my heart. Whew. Sorry guys. So I woke up the next morning, and to my surprise, God was not done with me yet. And so my lovely nephew woke me up, and he was just like, Tati, wake up and take your meds. And I woke up, and the first thing was, I know what's a gratitude prayer. I know I'm in a lot of pain, but I was so grateful to see that day. It didn't matter if I had my entire face swollen. It didn't matter if I couldn't eat. All that mattered was I was alive, I'm breathing, and that is all that mattered. Long story short, it took me a few sessions of surgeries and not eating for several months to finally get back on my feet. And yeah, I went back to work. Actually, I went back to work, then started the surgeries in the process because one, they were too expensive, and even managing to do that, I give God all the glory. And somewhere along the way, when I came back to my house, I think 1 or 2 months later, I told my mom, I think it's time I go back to my house. And my mom was a bit skeptical about it at first because I was not eating at that time, and she was like, who's going to take care of you? What are you going to be eating? And I told her, I need to go back to my house. I need to figure some things out. And so finally she gave in and she let me go. When I came to my house, I decided to take 1 week break where it was just me and God's presence in my life. No distractions, nothing. I felt a conviction where I needed to find out why didn't I die that day. Do you know how many people get into a road accident and actually survive? Very few. and I needed to understand why is God not done with me yet? What have I not fulfilled in my life? And in that 1 week, I was so heartbroken when the word said that God is near to the brokenhearted. I've never felt God like I did that time. I've never had an encounter with God in my life like I did that time. I always used to be the kind of person who would, when I'm going through something, I'll like call my mom and say, Mom, pray for me, I'm going through this and this. Or I would go to a spiritual mentor. But there's something about encountering God for yourself in your life that is so life-changing. It's so transformational. And there's also something about surrendering your life to God that transforms you in a way where your life is never the same again. So that's how my transformation started. If I was to summarize my shift in my life in one word, I would call it death. I decided to die to myself. I decided to die to my old habits. I decided to die to my lifestyle, a lifestyle of mediocrity. And I decided from that point forward that I was going to turn my life around. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I wanted to change things and so many things. And so that was also the time that I discovered Apostle Joshua Selman. When I tell you that man has transformed my spiritual life, his teachings, I could never sit 3 hours through a sermon in my life since I was a child. But I was also very serious about changing my life. And I was also very serious about not doing this life without God again. And I was persuaded to get to know Him. I was persuaded to live a godly life. I mean, I almost died. I had nothing else to lose by surrendering this second chance to God. And so I stayed in my house and I prayed and I prayed and I cried and I listened to all the teachings I could until I got the encounter I wanted. I know it's a cliche, but if there is one thing that really turned my life around, was being persuaded to love God. At the moment, I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew I don't want to do life again without God. The thing about surrendering to God, it can be painful. It can make you look stupid. It is also going to transform your life. You're going to lose friendships. You're going to lose taste to a certain lifestyle that you used to live. You're going to experience so many losses, but you're also going to emerge into something far much better than you could have ever imagined. This shift, this platform would not exist if I didn't go through that pain. This version of me would not exist if I didn't go through that pain. I thought that process was supposed to kill me. I thought all that pain I went through was there to kill me. To a point where at times I thought of taking my own life, because it didn't make sense to me to continue living. Whew. But eventually, I figured out that the process was not supposed to kill me. It was supposed to emerge a version of me that could step into the promise that God has for me. Anyway, how has my life transformed since then? Not only has my purpose gotten clearer, the thing about working with God is that you also walk in so much clarity. And sometimes it don't come directly, but you can rest and trust that whatever you're going through will work out for your good and you're safe no matter what. Previously, my life goals was centered around myself. God, I want. My life goals currently are centered around how can I add value? What can I do for others? How can I encourage others? How can my story inspire others? You stop being selfish and you start centering your life around other people. A previous me was not disciplined in my finances. Oh no, I was, but I lacked the knowledge on how to increase and to multiply. A mediocrity me would be swept away by anything. Right now, I'm so grounded and solidified, not only in God's presence, but also in the purpose that I have for my life, that I don't just get swayed by anything. The current me is so peaceful that sometimes I'm just gonna let things be because I pick my battles wisely. Like, not everything deserves a reaction, and sometimes I'm just gonna let things go because the energy is draining from me is not even worth it. So your peace becomes also a priority. Your goals become clear, and God gets louder in your life. Voices Mbekwayo always says, God has been so good to me for me to be silent about him. I think that's one of my favorite quotes this year. I'm so big on quotes and affirmations. But I could resonate with that because I'm the kind of person nowadays, if you say something, I'm going to say, glory be to God. Oh, thank God. In Kikuyu, we say, negai, you know? Because you own nothing. I'm at the point where I know I own nothing. All I have is because God has just made me and trusted me to be a good steward towards something. Otherwise, it all belongs to him. So yeah. So you see, I'm not just a girl. I am a daughter to a lovely earthly couple. I am a sister to a lovely sister somewhere. I'm a rich auntie to many kids because they never believe me when I say I don't have money. I'm a friend, I'm a colleague, I'm a relative. But more importantly, I'm the girl that's going to give you dose of encouragement every day and change perspective in your life. I'm the girl that is going to teach you how to constantly live in gratitude because I know what that has done for my life. And I'm the girl who is going to share so many stories of so many people that are going to encourage you and inspire hope in your life. So I hope this space is a safe space for you. I hope no matter what you're going through like right now, you don't give up. And I hope you believe me when I say it is worth trying again. That business, that job, that lifestyle. But this time, try it with God. you don't have to do it alone. You're not alone in the first place. So try it with God. Surrender it to God and keep going. Till the next story. Bye.